For almost 3 years, the Grand Warden had been absent from our villages, and not until December 10th, 2015 did he decide to finally make his return and come back to help our village. In today's video, I'm going to tell you my version of the Grand Warden's origin story. Way back in the days, before there was a barbarian king, before there were town halls, and even before there was literally anything else, the world was just a vast landscape of land and water. And one day, two immortal beings were sent into the world by the all-powerful gods known as the Lycanthropes. The two brothers were the very first troops ever in the village, and were blessed with incredible powers thanks to the Lycanthropes gods. The first brother's name was Jemine. He wore a red robe and held a book of all the most powerful spells in the universe. His brother, who was named Lexer, wore a blue cloak and held a very powerful staff capable of vaporizing just about anything. These two were pretty much the yin and yangs of the Clash universe, where one of them was the brains on the team and the other was the bronze and muscles. Together they were able to create an entire village and then using his spellbook to create other beings to coexist with them. Jemine decided to create 9 unique troops with the help of his spellbook. He created the Barbarian, the Archer, the Goblin, the Giant, the Wallbreaker, Balloon, Healer, Dragon, and the P.E.K.K.A, the very first few troops ever to enter into the village in Clash of Clans. The Wizard was also amongst all of the first troops in the game, but he was actually created in a different way, as explained in the origin story here. Then with the help of Lexer, he was able to control them and teach them how to fight for the village. The village was coming along very nicely and all was well inside of the Clash of Clans village. The army came back from attacks victorious most of the times, and their spoils of war were helping to create more and more buildings and upgrades. With all these extra resources, the two brothers also decided to create a troop dedicated to building and upgrading things in the village, just to help speed things up some more. So they created a single builder to do all of that. The builder was a fantastic at his job, and the two brothers couldn't believe that they didn't think of making a builder sooner. They ended up liking the builder so much that they wanted to make a second one as well. But once they created the second builder, he refused to work unless the brothers gave him 500 gems. And even though the brothers were incredibly powerful and had a spellbook with all known spells, there was no spell capable of duplicating gems, truly making gems the rarest resource in the village. So the brothers attempted to round up enough gems to pay the builder his extra fee. However, they could not come up with enough to pay him his 500 gems. So presented with the challenge, the brothers were determined to find a new way of duplicating gems using a brand new spell. So Jemine studied long and hard for a few days until he finally came up with a possible solution. So he grabbed one of the few gems that they had and he placed it on the ground. He then stood back and casted his spell. Unfortunately, the spell went right through the gem and split into 3 smaller bolts. Those bolts ended up hitting an army camp, a free spell, and a hidden Tesla. And then the spell ended up bringing those objects to life and turning them into 3 brand new troops. You can follow their entire story in this story right here. So Lexer took the 3 new wizards to go train them, while Jemine went back to the drawing board. He figured out where he messed up and then he switched the spell accordingly. He then picked up the gem and tried again. He casted the spell once again, and this time, it actually worked. What once was just a single gem was now 2. He then casted the spell again and again and again, until there were thousands of gems in front of him. The brother had finally found a way to cheat the system. After realizing the spell was a success, Jemine continued to create new spells to help them out even more. He created simple spells like a clone spell, and then he also created some spells that could increase his and Lexer's powers. He then later also found a way to combine his powers with Lexer's. Together they could become an even more unstoppable force, and rather than just winning most battles, they could win every single battle. So Jemine used the spell on themselves and they ended up merging together. Their cloaks combined, creating a purple cloak with a hood. He held both the staff and the spellbook. But they didn't just stop there. They created more spells to give them an aura that helps the surrounding troops around them by giving them extra health. And he even created a unique Eternal Tomb ability that could fully protect any troops within a close range around them for a certain amount of time. With all these gems and helpful spells, the village was excelling in every aspect and were making extremely quick progress. So quick, in fact, that the gods Lycanthropes noticed. They were watching all of this and realized that the two brothers could become a serious threat if they keep this stuff up. So they realized that they had to weaken them. But before they did anything, some other major event happened inside of the village. something that forced the new Grand Warden to leave and possibly never come back. So come back next week to see the ending for this story in The Grand Warden Story Part 2.